LBJ, your own vainglory because you wanted to be a wartime president. It was a criminal act on the part of the American government, just like our invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan under George W. Bush were criminal acts, both under false pretenses. LBJ made up the Gulf of Tonkin. George W. and Colin Powell lied about weapons of mass destruction. That makes them criminal because they're war crimes. The false delivery of a country into a war, fighting a war under false pretenses, is a war crime.
Oh, and how about NATO being tested? How about those war crimes? You forgot Libya? You want that guy Gaddafi out of there. We're going to destroy the richest country in Africa, with people who had more benefits and rights than most people around the world. Oh, you forgot the NATO, what they did with a place that used to be called Yugoslavia? How about that NATO? How about that NATO going into Afghanistan and Iraq? How about that NATO? That NATO being tested? What? Tested so they could do more killing and murder? He goes on. Autocrats only understand one word. This is Biden. No, no, no. No, you will not take my country. No, you will not take my freedom. No, you will not take my future. Oh, no, you will not take my freedom? You mean in America, where you will get a COVID jab? If you don't, you can't live a free life. If you don't do what we tell you in the freedom of America, here, I'm going to lock down your business. We're fighting the COVID war. Freedom? What freedom you talking about? How about this? Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never, Biden said.
Well, that to me, I mean, it's not only reckless for humanity, it's reckless for him politically. I mean, he's making a promise that he is incapable of delivering.
Well,
I mean, but Putin has 350 to 500,000 troops that are about to swarm into Ukraine, and they will just march across the country, much like the Americans carpet bombed Japan and Germany at the end of World War II. And nothing will stand in their way, including their American advisors, including the American soldiers that are now shooting at Russians. Colonel McGregor advises that the HIMARS, that's that rather sophisticated system of missiles that we gave them, are physically located in Ukraine, but operated remotely by American troops in Poland. American troops are choosing the target, and American troops are pulling the trigger. It's not an actual trigger. It's a bunch of buttons you have to press. Point is, it's American soldiers shooting at Russian soldiers. Putin told the U.S. ambassador to Russia, Russia reserves the right to shoot at the military personnel of any country where the personnel is in Ukraine and where that country is shooting at us. Makes sense. Could you imagine Chinese soldiers in Mexico shooting at us in Texas and us being afraid to shoot back? Putin is not afraid to shoot back. And he basically told that to the American ambassador. And that probably went in one of Joe's ears and out the other, because he wants a war. He wants what's coming. He thinks that will get him reelected.
Biden has voted and pushed for every war since he's been sucking off the public tit for 60 years. There's not a war that little lowlife didn't love. And again, this slime ball calls himself, you just got your ashes, a practicing Catholic. That's his words. He calls himself a practicing Catholic. You are the devout Catholic. What Catholic practices war and murder? How it's demeaning to what the Prince of Peace.
Correct. He uses Catholicism as a badge. I don't know what's in his heart, but there's nothing Catholic. Nothing Catholic There's nothing Judeo-Christian. There's nothing even moral, whether you believe in God or not. There's a right or wrong in the world about slaughtering innocent Russian soldiers and extending a war. If the United States had not entered this Ukraine war, it would have been over in a couple of months.
Oh,
let's face it.
absolutely.
The reason it's still being fought is because of American equipment on the ground, much of which is manned by American troops.
Again, the American troops are there because Lloyd Austin, our defense secretary, whose last job was sitting on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor, had admitted that American advisors are in Ukraine, watching over the weapons that we've brought in there to make sure that they're being properly operated. He's admitted it. They're there. And what we're looking at here is nuclear annihilation if this doesn't stop. And I am so disappointed. Again, another friend of mine, you know, it's great you were at the rally. Too bad too many people didn't show up. You know, our education system, this, blah, 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 blah. I'm so tired of hearing about that. All I'm saying to everybody listening, what are you doing? You know the facts of what's going on. What are you doing to promote peace? What are you doing to support? And we didn't really get into it, but I want to wrap it up with it. The Constitution and our Bill of Rights and how we should not be involved in these foreign entanglements. What are you doing? Each individual. Don't just talk about it. You better do something. That rally should have had 100,000 people.
Absolutely.
They had a rally in Munich on Saturday. Over 10,000 people showed up. Washington Post covered that rally. They didn't cover ours. How many people in America? 332 million people? And you get 4,000 people, 5,000 people to show up for a rally? That shows you the heart of America.
Yes.
Judge, in wrapping up, please go into your article here, because you say under the Constitution, only Congress can declare war on a nation or a group. The last time it did was to initiate American involvement in World War II.
Congress has, from time to time, given its power away to presidents. It's all unconstitutional. They let George Bush attack criminally Afghanistan and Iraq. They enacted the War Powers Resolution, which lets the president attack wherever he wants as long as he reports it to Congress. They've established a Congress within a Congress called the Gang of Eight, which is the chairs and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees and the senior leadership of both parties and both houses, which allows the president to tell them things in secret, but requires them to keep the secrets to themselves. What kind of a democracy operates in secret? What kind of a democracy allows a secret war? What kind of transparency is that? Congress has given powers away to the president. Every time the Supreme Court looks at this, it says it's unconstitutional. So only Congress can declare a war, but they have to have a reason for it. They don't have a reason for it. They've given Joe, I don't mean to disrespect him, they've given the president a $100 billion slush fund. He spent wasted half of it already. It's a deplorable state of affairs, which comes from the absence of fidelity to the Constitution. The president doesn't follow it. The Congress doesn't follow it. What happens when they don't follow the Constitution? Death, debt, and destruction, the slow destruction of personal liberty.
You know, I think you summed it up what the country is. Or I shouldn't say the country, what Congress is. A gang of eight. A gang. They even call themselves a gang.
They do.
They're telling us the gang is in charge. And that's all it's become, a gang. And Biden is nothing more than the gang leader. This is terrible what's happened to this country. Yep. We have reposed the Constitution for safekeeping into the hands of those who ignore it. The consequences are debt, and the loss of personal liberty, you write. Again, if we don't unite for peace, we're going to die in war. United we stand, divided we die. And everybody listening, all I'm saying to you is, what are you doing? What are you doing personally to change this? And if you don't do anything, great. The worst will keep happening. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority, keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, said Samuel Adams. Now is the time for that irate, tireless minority to unite for freedom, peace, and justice, and the true American spirit. Because what Joe Biden did on President's Day, rather than honoring the presidents in the United States and celebrating that day with we the people, he goes to Ukraine to keep beating the war drums and bloodying the killing fields. He should be impeached just for that, as I see it. Thank you, Judge, for being here. And thank you for all that you do. And we'll see you next week.
Pleasure, Gerald. All the best.